Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, and I am here with this band-endorsed but fan-based podcast going over all of the music that Uriah Heep has ever recorded in the studio. Today we are talking about the 10th track on the album Outsider, Kiss the Rainbow. This is season 23 that we're winding down. We've got one more song to do, which we will do tomorrow. And then it's on to Living the Dream, folks. The current album, while we wait for the new studio album to come out, I'm recording about a month ahead, so I'm pretty sure it's not going to be out by then. So I can safely say that that will be the current studio album that is out, and we will await the new one anxiously. I can't wait. Now, there are a couple things before we get into today's song. Of course, happy Monday, guys. I hope you had a great weekend. Hope you feel relaxed and refreshed, ready to dig into a new song, but you're going to have to wait a minute because it's Monday, you know, and we talk about all the things that we're grateful for on this show, like my patrons, my fantastic people who have been dedicated to this show for so long. Some at different times they all came on, but grateful, very grateful to each and every one of them. At the $5 easy living tier, we're talking about Brad D, Kenny Wymore, a couple of great guys. Over at the $3 The Wizard tier, William Rose, Frank Teelgaard Mortensen, Goran Eriksson, and Peter Voss. Really cool people. You know, these guys are just amazing. Just sending money to me for doing the show and helping with the upkeep of it and the maintenance fees and all that. It's really, really awesome. And of course, last but never least, at the $1 Traveler in Time tier, like a sea monkey egg before you add the water, Airtight Gravesite. Thank you all very, very much. Another cool guy, by the way, Airtight Gravesite, that guy. Really, really great that that's what I've inspired people to do by doing the show. I love it. I love sharing the music of this band. So many people have said, I never heard this album, went away from the band for a while, and now I'm getting into all these songs I never gave a chance to, or, people that have loved every album. A really, really amazing cross-section of people, but it's just inspiring to share music that you love with people and seeing that they love it too, for whatever their reasons. You can love a piece of music for any reason you want. That's fine. Doesn't matter, as long as you're enjoying the things that you listen to and you listen to the things that you enjoy. Give some new stuff a chance here and there. I've certainly learned that over the last year or so. We got a couple other things. If you guys do, I realize that the show is winding down now towards the end of all the recorded stuff, but the maintenance fees are going to be ongoing. So if any of you would like to donate to the show, you can get on the Patreon, or you can do a donation by PayPal, a one-time donation, or you can set up a monthly reoccurring. Go to scotthaskin.com. That's where the website is for this show. Click on the Uriah Heep podcast link, go all the way to the bottom, and those links are there for you. The show will go on as long as I keep paying those fees. And I want these episodes to be available for a long time, years and years and years. So that would help. Thank you guys very much, all who have donated. Also, all who have spread the word about the podcast. In real time, it was just a week ago that I interviewed Davey Rimmer, and so many people were just sharing like crazy the link for that. And that was really super cool. I really appreciate that. And all those who share the show, like Dave White. Dave White shares all the shows on on Twitter and Facebook. And he also does the website for both Uriah Heep and Mick Box. Mick Box has his own site at mick-box.net. Hey, look, I said it right this week. And also the Uriah Heep at uriah-heep.com. I'll get them both right in 1 week. I swear to God, before this is over. It's kind of hard to say. But he does a great job with the websites and sharing the podcast and everything. He's a really great guy. Been on the show a bunch of times. If you've been listening for a while, I'm sure you've heard at least one or more of his episodes. Also, thank you to my graphic artist, Scott Lazinski, who did an amazing job on the logo. I also want to thank Cakewalk by BandLab, which is the sort of dinner plate that I eat the show off of. That's the weirdest metaphor I've ever come up with. And my friends at Audionamics, who I will not do a podcast without Instant Dialogue Cleaner. The greatest product to anybody doing voice recordings as far as I'm concerned. And I've tried a few. I tried like Waves, the NS1 noise suppressor. It didn't really do much of anything for me, but this is just so simple to use. It's just a dial, really just a dial with an amazing, intense algorithm behind it that makes all the bad sound go away. And of course, I would be remiss not to talk about my brothers at the Deep Dive Podcast Network. We have the Deep Purple Podcast. We have Skinnerd Reconsidered, T-Bone's Prime Cuts on the Other Side, which are musical interviews. We have Sabbath's Bloody Podcast, In the Lap of the Pods, a Queen podcast, Hawk Binge, a podcast solely dedicated to the band Hawkwind, which I didn't even know existed until they started doing this podcast. That's one of the things that's really cool, is having these shows available to us. They bring awareness of bands or projects that we might not have ever known of. So that's really cool. Also, we have Maiden A to Z Pod. We have Diary of the Madmen, the ultimate Aussie podcast. We have Universally Speaking, the Red Hot Chili Peppers podcast. That's actually kind of fun to say, Red Hot Chili Peppers podcast. You would think it's a tongue twister, but it's not, and it never will be. We have Metal Gods podcast, which is a podcast dedicated to Judas Priest. And last but not least, our newest brothers, Mark and Corey, at the end, the podcast will rock, a show dedicated to the music of Van Halen. All great shows, all ones I enjoy very much. Wish I had more time to listen to more episodes. Things are just a little crazy these days. Also, over at Metallicast, my buddy Brandon has my favorite Metallica podcast. And of course, Allegra over at gottahear'emall.com, a website dedicated to the live histories of bands such as Deep Purple, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and whole more just big chunks of trivia and all kinds of stuff. Go check it out. It is a great website, gottahear'emall.com. And of course, the links to these are all in the show notes. And last but not least, Ace the Music Man on YouTube, or Ace on Music on Stitcher. And you can listen to Ace's show. He manages the band and Thin Lizzy and the Grand Bonnet Band and all kinds of cool bands. And he's a really cool guy too. You know, I've gotten to know him a bit as I've been doing this podcast. And Mick just surrounds himself with such amazing people. And now that I've met everyone in the band, I really see that. You know, I get why the band is just hitting on all cylinders these days. There's such a camaraderie and a joy and a brotherhood between them. And you feel that in the management, you feel that in the music. It's really amazing. So check out Ace's show. Lots of great information on different things in the music business. I've learned a ton from him, and I thought I knew a decent amount. Turns out I was wrong. Deep Dive podcasts have also taught me that I know very little about my favorite bands. So, you know, it's good to expand your horizons and learn. This show, of course, is just really all about the music and not about the history, not about the fighting and the drugs and all that stuff. It's just about celebrating the music itself and, enjoying the people that are in the band whenever you get the chance. They're great people. Before we get into the song, I actually have a couple of reviews, and I apologize because one of these goes back to September. I did not catch it on the app. So iTunes and Apple Music are really weird. You have to go through this different process to get all of your reviews. You only get the domestic reviews. So to get the international reviews, you have to use this plugin and you have to go through this process. And I just hadn't done it in a while. And I finally did. And I have two. First off, this came back in September 25th of 2021. Thank God it was only 2021 and not like 2020, because the podcast actually didn't exist back then. And this is by We Got We. Huh. I wonder where you got that from. And they are in Finland. And the title is Great Tribute to Great Band. It's a 5-star review. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Actually, most of the reviews are 5 stars. It was like 1 3-star, I think a couple of 4 stars, and the rest were all 5 stars. So it's been, it's been a good run. The review says, this has been an interesting journey. I have listened 70s Heap about 45 years and know it inside and out, but I have not really heard much of their later songs. So going through all the songs with Scott started as a nostalgia tour and has now changed to discovering new good music. I am now buying the newer Heap albums, having understood how great they are, and the journey is not over yet. No, it is not. We have a little ways to go yet. And thank you very much. That has been one of the biggest thrills for me doing the show. Is it's not just, paying respect and showing appreciation for all these songs that Uriah Heep wrote and recorded. It's a matter also of just sharing these with people, getting people excited about the songs that they haven't heard. And I love when people tell me that, hey, I've been going through their catalog thanks to you. And it's that's one of the reasons I wanted to start the podcast. That was really the main reason I wanted to start the podcast, was to help them find a new audience, and it seems like, at least to some level, I've been able to accomplish that. The other review is much more recent, just came in January 17th of this year, 2022, another 5-star review. This one coming all the way from the Great White North, Canada. I don't know where in Canada. That's a pretty broad country, but I have been there many times growing up in Detroit. We used to go over to Canada. In fact, I think that's where I bought Demons and Wizards when I had it on LP, was a record store that was in a mall over the border. They sold like tapestries and bandanas and all kinds of posters and stuff. And they had some records. And I'm pretty sure that's where I got Demons and Wizards. I know I bought In the Court of the Crimson King there by King Crimson, but I think I might have bought the LP to Demons and Wizards there as well. I'm not positive, but for some reason that's ringing a bell. Anyway, getting off track. So yeah, Canada's pretty great. This is from C.D. Morissette. I don't know if they're related to Alanis. There's no way to tell. It is labeled as a must for all music fans. And it is a 5-star review. Thank you very much, C.D. Morissette, up in Canada. I hope you're staying warm. It's chilly enough here in Vegas. I can't imagine what it's like in Canada right now. I love this show, and I went in not knowing much about Uriah Heep, but thanks to this podcast, I'm becoming a big fan. Great deep dive analysis, and the host is always very knowledgeable and easy to listen to. A must for all music fans. Well, that's really cool. Thank you very much, C.D. Morissette. I appreciate that. It's interesting because a lot of the shows, they do a dive into like the history of the band and what happened to make the album come about and how this person entered the band and all that. And really, to me, all that stuff is interesting and you can get caught up in it. But it's, it usually tends to be a lot of drama and stuff. And really, it just takes away from the music for me. So my whole point in doing the show with this format that I have is I really wanted to just focus on the music. It doesn't even matter to me who's credited as a songwriter, right? That's just who gets paid differently, because we know that everyone in the band contributes. There's, I'm sure Ken Hensley never went to Lee Kerslake and said, here's the fills that you're going to play and how you're going to play them. Lee played the song his way. I'm sure there was some, hey, I don't really like that, doesn't fit the mood I'm going for kind of stuff. But, everybody puts their own stamp on the songs when they play them. I can't imagine anybody was a dictator and said, you are going to play your solo like this. So everybody puts their stamp on the song. So for that reason, even the writing credits aren't that important, because everybody contributes to their own part. Maybe more on one song and less on another, but everybody contributes. So really, all the songs, the albums, they're collective band releases, creations, if you will. So that being said, let's get into this song. This song is called Kiss the Rainbow. And, the first thing I always think of whenever I hear doing anything with a rainbow is Skittles, of course, right? that Taste the Rainbow marketing thing that they had. I never had a correlation with kissing a rainbow, so it's going to be interesting. I have a feeling it's metaphorical. We'll find out. Let's just jump right in. Here it is. Kiss the Rainbow by Uriah Heep. I like that riff. It's very interesting. Got some good dynamics in there. I like the different speeds he plays at, but it really also helps that I just love the sound of the guitar and keyboard on this. That combination is really, really interesting. It's mainly, I think what I'm hearing is the guitar with just the keyboard filling in a little bit more of the sound area. But yeah, that's a really, really cool guitar sound. Again, a great build here, just kind of introducing all of the members. But what's interesting is Davey starts like a beat late. And I couldn't tell exactly when Russell comes in because he's really quiet in the beginning, the way they fade him in. But I suspect that he also started a beat late. I'm not positive on that, though. But then, of course, the organ gets bigger as it goes along, too. So, we've got that swell. Really cool, very intriguing. You just have to know what happens next. Or I do, at least. Well, it's pretty rare that the main riff keeps going through the verse. It's interesting that there wasn't a change there. And I love the layering of Bernie's voice right off the top. There are some songs that just sound really good when they're sung in a harmony like that. And I love that. It's just got a good feel to it. I kind of feel like I want to just jump in the car, drop the windows down and just hit the highway. I like that the chorus goes higher in register, and I like that it goes even higher than that. From the opening note to the first change, it goes up again, which is really cool. It's very uplifting. Again, kind of a theme on this album. It's interesting. You look at the cover and you see a guy who's like trapped in some sort of clock-looking dystopian world, but yet the album itself has been just really kind of warm and uplifting for me. And I just find that contrast very interesting. I mean, it certainly had a couple of, lesser, I don't want to say lesser moments because I don't mean it that way, but lesser in the way of not as uplifting. Not everything on an album should be either. I think you need to have a variety of emotions, and they do. But I would say the majority of it has been, pretty feel-good rock and roll. So, it's weird that cover, which I love so much, really kind of is a contrast to what I've heard on most of the album so far, and we only have one other song. This part's pretty straightforward, and that's okay. Nothing wrong with that at all. It sounds really good. This song has a really warm sound to it also. But, we get little fill-ins from Mick. It sounds like, Phil is just really rocking the Hammond there. I just kind of see him like kind of, swaying side to side and just, really jamming and getting into it. I don't know if he actually does that, but in the studio, a lot of times in the studio, people are very rigid. They're so worried about being precise in that they don't necessarily get into it physically like they would when they're on stage. But I really feel like he's just into this song. I mean, the keyboards are really hopping. Bass and drums are solid, really not doing anything to take focus away from the others. They're really just supporting right now. I can't say with any certainty that there's a relation here, but listening to those lyrics, I certainly feel like this is sort of attached to Rainbow Demon. You're talking about the early morning. They were talking about mist. This song's talking about the dew. You're talking about looking across the sky. It just, I don't know. It just kind of feels like it has a little bit of a connection there. Well, I like the backing vocals. I like how they continue a little bit longer than they normally would going into the next line that Bernie sings. That sounds really cool. I like that technique. I also like just that little note that Mick plays in between. And again, that kind of pushes my argument that the keyboard guitar is just slightly off balance. That should be a little bit more in the foreground of the mix, I think. Mick up just a little bit, Phil down just a little bit. I think we'd be at 100% perfect mix. But this is a great, great mix. Don't get me wrong. Really love the energy of this song too. You know, I feel like Russell's really laying back too. I feel like he could just explode with all kinds of different fills. And as we get to the end of the song, if they do, you know, the standard repeating chorus, I wonder if we're going to hear a little bit more out of Russell. We'll find out. But this song is really kind of tailored for some just really excited, action-filled drum fills. Filled fills? Maybe it's just me, and I always make the allowance for that possibility, don't I? But that had a really 60s feel to it, didn't it? I really like that. I think maybe it was because there was they dropped off the distortion on the organ. It was a more clean tone. Just had that you know, almost going back to not quite the days of psychedelic music, but maybe just as we were coming out of that. So I would say maybe late 60s, early 70s, somewhere in there. But that was a really cool part. I like that. I didn't expect in a song with so much energy that they were going to drop back like that. And yet it still works. Like I didn't lose engagement when they did it, which was good.
Daybreak, I look across the sky. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that is the stuff. I love parts like that. The drums sound like they're all over the place because they're panned so well. I love that kind of drumming style for, you know, not for a whole song, but for a section like this, it just works beautifully. And then on top of that, you know, the great vocal, we've got the organ in there, we've got some bird sounds. And then I'm not sure exactly what that little screech at the end was there. It sounds like a transition sound effect. So we'll see. But very, very cool part. Absolutely love that. And I love the, you know, that they did it on this album because of the way that the album sounds. You know, the sound of that part is so much better with a good mix like this. That was a really nice flowing solo, you know, really worked well with the song. Wasn't crazy flashy, obviously, but just sometimes you just need something that just feels good replacing the vocalist and giving a different sound to break things up a little bit. And that sounded good. I'm pretty sure that was definitely at least two guitars. I'm not sure if there were more in that layer. I'm hearing one slightly to the left and one slightly to the right, but the precision was there. So either Mick is as great as I'm always saying he is, or they just did a stereo pan on that and made it sound like two different guitars that were playing exactly the same. More likely Mick played it. That would be my guess. But in any case, yeah, that was a really cool part. I could listen to that again, you know, just something that flows so nicely with the song, especially after coming out of the part that we just did, to jump right into a solo section without having another verse to reset the basic structure of the song. It's interesting to go from a part like that into the solo right away and go from there. That was also a really nice keyboard swell we had right before the solo started. So lots of cool stuff in this song. I'm all fired up.
Kiss the rainbow.
Another rare fade from this Outsider album, but a cool one. I like that, going back to that last couple of chorus repeats, seems fairly traditional on this album to drop them down to half of the words, let some of the music shine through. Mick was getting a little bit of spotlight in there, which was nice. I really like what he was playing. Again, nothing too flashy or fancy, just fit the song really, really well. Got Russell switching over to the ride for the chorus, giving a little bit of that open room. The bell's not too loud, so it's not cutting through anything. Bass was going up in register a little bit. That was nice in the transition. Lots of cool stuff in here, really. Just another really energetic song that makes me smile at the end of the day. Now I really just want to get in the car and go somewhere, and I got no reason to get in the car and go anywhere other than to listen to a great road song like this. I mean, this is really just perfect for being in the car by yourself or with a group of people, just heading to some fun destination. You're all excited to get there, and in all the anticipation and all that. It just is a feel good song. Really dig it. I think this is another one of my favorites from Bernie in his performance. It's just a really powerful, uplifting piece. And this album, I mean, it's really been a solid theme throughout the majority of it, that this is how I feel at the end of just about every song. So they were definitely in a mode when they were writing this, and it came out very beautifully in the music. There's no doubt about that. So that will wrap it up for today's show, guys. We have one more to go in season 23. Tomorrow, we say goodbye. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magicians Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show. And thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!